I'm Kris. Today I am going to try my second try of pressure canning, or canning of any sort, and I will be pressure canning potatoes. If you didn't see my video on my first try with carrots, there will be a link, I think it goes on this side, to the carrots video. As with the first video with the carrots, I am using the book Canning and Preserving for Beginners, because I am definitely a beginner. Again, it has very simple, basic recipes. For the potatoes, there will be some differences from how I did the carrots. The carrots, I was able to use a cold pack method. Potatoes have to be done with a hot pack method, which means you have to cook the vegetable, the potatoes in this case, before you can can them, whereas the carrots you could do raw or cooked carrots, and I chose the raw carrots. Also, I have to soak the potatoes in citric acid to keep them from discoloring, whereas again with the carrots I didn't have to do that. So there's a lot of similarities, but definitely some differences depending on which fruit, or in this case vegetable, you will be canning. It calls for 9 pint jars and 13 pounds of potatoes. But as you may recall from the carrots video, I had 8 pint jars and only 6 pounds of carrots, and I had way more carrots than what fit in those 8 jars. So we'll see how many jars and how many potatoes it actually takes. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I have to wash and peel all these potatoes. I have finally finished peeling and washing all of these new potatoes. The recipe said that new potatoes are a better choice for canning because they are less starchy and have a firmer texture than regular potatoes. And I had both, so I went ahead and used the new potatoes. It says you don't have to cut the new potatoes, but some of my new potatoes, this one has not been cut. We're only this big. Some of my new potatoes were 4 times this big. Trying to make them as close to the same size as possible, I felt I needed to cut them. So hopefully I have gotten all of those really big ones taken care of and cut. And I believe I am ready for the next step, which is to put all of the potatoes in a large bowl and to cover them with a citric acid solution. Citric acid solution is going to be 1 teaspoon in 1 gallon of water. Oh, this potato is a little too big. Let me cut that one. So let me go get my citric acid and mix it up with some water and pour it over my bowl of potatoes. Then you let it sit here for about 5 minutes. It's supposed to keep the potatoes from discoloring, though I think some of them are already started to discolor. You can see a little discoloring from some of the knife cuts and peeling. So I better get that going. Hopefully a gallon is enough, otherwise I guess I'll make another one. Oh yeah, it looks like it's gonna be plenty. And you let it sit in the citric acid solution for 5 minutes. I'm going to get my water boiling while that's going. Hopefully a little extra time in the citric acid won't be a problem because I didn't set a timer. So then I rinsed off the potatoes to get the citric acid wash off of them. And now I'm supposed to boil them because potatoes are a hot pack canning item. It says for whole new potatoes, you're supposed to boil them for 10 minutes. But for diced potatoes, you're supposed to boil them for 2 minutes. So I have really no idea. If I boil that for 10 minutes, it's going to just be a pile of mush. So I'm thinking 4 or 5 minutes with the timer set is the right amount of time. If I've messed up, please tell me in the comments that these are wrong and I need to throw them away. Butter's hot. I will wait for the water to start boiling again, and then I will set the timer for 4 minutes and I will come and check them. Though I'm not sure what I'm checking for. I have let the potatoes boil, let the water boil again, and then set the timer for 4 minutes. Then let it go a little bit longer. So it's been 5 minutes now. I can stab even the big pieces with a fork. I wouldn't want to make mashed potatoes out of them. They're still too firm for that. But they are soft enough that I can put a fork in them. So I think they're good enough, knowing nothing about what I'm doing. So I'm going to drain the water, and hopefully my canning jars will be sterilized here shortly, because I'm still waiting on that too. With the potatoes, we put in our salt before we put in the potatoes. It is a half a teaspoon per 1 pint jar. These are 1.5 pint jars. But everywhere I'm looking says that we are allowed to adjust the amount of salt in these. So I'm going with the half a teaspoon in the 1.5 pint jar. You'll also see I only have 8. I was trying to do 9, but 9 would not fit in the canner to sterilize, and it won't fit 9 in the canner to pressurize. So 8 it is. I looked this time to see how full to fill the jar with just the potatoes, and it is a 1-inch headspace, which means I can put just a couple more potatoes in this one. And with the hot packed, you don't want to push them down like you do with the cold pack. At least that's what it told me about the carrots. I'm assuming the same is true with any hot packed vegetable. A little bit of room over on that side. So I'm going to go through and fill each of these with 1 inch of headspace with the potatoes. Adding my boiling water now. And I had enough potatoes for 7 jars. It's supposed to be a 1-inch headspace for potatoes as well. Or I'm sorry, 1-inch headspace for water. There we go. After all the jars are full, you need to wipe Whoa, that's hot. Need to wipe the rims with a clean towel. And everyone, please tell me if it is okay. Let me see if I can show you here without burning my fingers too much. I didn't quite have enough potatoes for that jar. I'm going to can it, pressurize can it over there. But please tell me if it's going to be okay, those of you with canning experience, or if I should not keep it. I have it filled to the 1-inch headspace with the water, just like all the rest. So I think it should be okay, but please let me know. Then the last thing we do before putting it into the pressure canner is putting all the lids and rims on. Just fingertip tight. I had boiled out too much water out of my pressure canner, so had to add more and let it boil again, but we are good now. So now it is time to add my 7 jars of potatoes. As you see, I have my 7 jars in there. I could have fit 8 if I had enough potatoes for 8. Now time to put the lid on and wait for the steam to come. My steady stream of steam has begun, so I set the timer for 10 minutes according to my pressure canner. 10 minutes of venting is done. So we put on the 15-pound weight and wait till that starts wiggling. It's been 35 minutes, so it's time to turn the heat off. Now you're supposed to take it off of the burner, but I have not had anyone here to be able to move the water bath canning pot. And so there isn't room for me to move the pot over. I can't lift it, so it's going to have to stay right where it is. Hopefully that won't be a problem. It just gets a little extra heat for a little extra time. So now we wait until it cools down. The canner is not making any more noise. Lifting this up doesn't seem to be releasing any pressure. So we'll take the lid off that. So far, so good. See if we can take the lid off. It's released itself, which means it was not still under pressure. If you have to force it, don't. Open it away from you and see steam is still coming out. It's been about maybe 60 seconds since I just took that lid off. I had to go get the book to make sure I'm supposed to take the jars out now and go put them in my safe place for 24 hours. In that time, I heard the sound that those who can love to hear. I heard a pop of the can lid sucking itself in and securing the lid. And I heard 2 of those. All right, I'm gonna bring these out and bring them in the other room. Here are my 7 jars of potatoes. You can see they are still boiling in there. I gotta wait 24 hours before I can check those seals. I did hear at least 1 more pop while I was bringing them out here. It has been 24 hours since I took these out of the canner. Just like with the carrots, you take the rings off and you check that they don't pop and that you can't take the lids off. Those 3 are sealed. Now I need to check the other 4. All 7 jars sealed just right. We're good. I have now canned 2 days in a row, carrots and potatoes. Having never canned anything before, never had anyone show me how to can before. In fact, I've only known in real life 1 person who's ever canned before, and I've only enjoyed the fruits of her labor, never participated in any way. So, I have watched, like I said, I've watched some of the YouTube videos and read some books. Here are my tips and pointers after my vast experience. 1, when they tell you to start boiling that really big pot of water you're going to sterilize those jars in, they tell you to start that before you start preparing all your vegetables. Do that. Because I had all my vegetables ready first, and then I'm sitting here, and then I started boiling the water, and I'm sitting here waiting and waiting. And you know the phrase, a watched pot never boils? Yeah, it really does feel that way. Because a pot this big, this full with water, whew, does that take a long time to get to a boil. So start it at the beginning, like the recipe says. If you need to add more water, you can always add more water. But adding this much water, it'll boil, get to that boiling point faster than waiting. All right, so start boiling the water when they tell you to boil the water. Everybody says those wide mouth jars are better, or at least that's what I've heard. I haven't even had dirty jars yet, and I will agree with that. I used wide mouth the one day and regular the other day. Even just sticking my hand in just to clean the already clean jar, if I had wider hands than this, I could not have done that. And then just filling the jars, pouring in the carrots or the potatoes, they went in much easier in the wider mouth jars. So they can be harder to find, but whenever possible, you're going to want to use those wide mouth jars. Use a timer. My kitchen timer here in my microwave works great, but only when I remember to set it. I only forgot on one thing, and thankfully it was not a critical item. It was something that could go past its time. I believe it was soaking the potatoes in the citric acid solution. It soaked for way longer than the allotted time. Wasn't a big deal, but for some things, that could definitely be a problem. So you want to make sure you use your timer. Next one I need to get a visual aid for. So for this next one, you want to make sure you have all of your pots, your pans, your utensils, your towels. You want to make sure you have everything you need before you get started, Because when you need them, you don't want to have to go looking for them. Not, you know, where's the tongs, or where's the towel that I need to use, or whatever. Now you saw that I used the jar funnel, the jar lifter, the headspace tool, as well as the magnetic lid lifter. All came from this ball utensil set. We will leave an affiliates link down in the description. Again, it costs you nothing extra, but if you use that affiliates link, we get a little bit extra to help support our channel. In case you were looking at doing any canning, there'll be a link to this down in the description. One of my jars broke in the pressure canner. I am still waiting because I'm making these back to back, haven't posted either of the videos yet. So I'm waiting to hear what your guys' thoughts on why the one jar broke. But I've been thinking about it, and I think the reason is I tightened the jar too tight before I put it in the pressure canner. Tightening it too tight, it didn't allow the air and whatever to escape out of the jar while it was being pressurized. And so, since it had no other way to get out, it popped out the bottom of the jar. That's my current theory. It's a very nice clean break. No little shards or anything. But I would rather have not broken my jar and not lost a jar of carrots. So, don't tighten it too tight. Fingertip tight, just enough to hold it there. And last but not least, I was really scared when I got started, having never done any canning before. But the second time, only the very next day, it was a lot less scary. So if you're looking at trying some canning, give it a try. Like I said, it was a lot less scary the second time. So go for it and see what you do. Well, thanks everyone for following along. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, but you just like me, give me a thumbs up. And as always, have a great day.